Now, I had my fingers crossed when today's commentary arrived in the mail. Did I really want to read this? Now, I loved John Oswalt's work on Isaiah, but I haven't read it in a few years, and I was wondering, would I still like him as much if I read him today? And then this two-volume commentary came up on 1st and 2nd Kings, on Solomon, the divided kingdom, and Judah alone. And I looked at this and I was like, I don't really know if I want to read this. To me, this is something more to read for doing sermon prep when I'm doing the work for the people at my church. Do I really want to read commentaries on kings if it's not part of my sermon prep work? Am I going to regret this one? Turns out, not at all. John Oswalt's work for the Evangelical Exegetical commentary on 1st and 2nd Kings was fantastic. This is so good. Great work by Lexham Academic. If I was preaching on 1st and 2nd Kings, or preaching a sermon series on Solomon, Elijah, Elisha, Ezekiel, or more, this would be my first choice for a commentary on those books. And I believe in all the other sites that rank commentaries, this one will rise fast to the top. And then on top of this, it looks excellent. I hope you can tell in this video that the dust jacket for this commentary just looks clean, and then really nice design. And then on top of that, you take the dust jacket off, and I think it looks even better. I love this plain white look with the gold lettering in it. I just think it pops. To me, I would say this commentary series, if they all look the same, which I'd assume that they would, looks just as good as any series probably outside of Robert Alter's Hebrew commentary on the Bible. And I would say this is probably the best looking commentary set on the market after Hebrew Alter's work on the Old Testament. And the content on the inside is even better than the look on the outside. And if you have a few minutes, I would like to tell you a little bit more about what I like about Lexham Academic's great work on 1st and 2nd Kings. Welcome to Rev Reads. If you want to discover more books about the story of the people of God, please subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with my latest book review. Also, like this video, share it with others to help them know about the Evangelical Exegetical commentary series. The most affordable way today to build up a theological library is through Logos Bible software. Follow the link in the description below to purchase your Logos edition of 1st and 2nd Kings by John Oswalt. Also, follow the link in the description to subscribe to Logos for 60 free days to enjoy their wonderful library and their very helpful Bible study tools. Now let's start with the format in reviewing this commentary. This book has a 50-page introduction, which concludes with an outline of the book. The introduction is for 1st and 2nd Kings, and so you find the same introduction in both of the volumes, which I thought was a great move. These two books should be treated as one volume, and they should receive the same introduction. And so I thought it was great for Lexham to include the introduction in each volume. So if a reader only purchased 2nd Kings, they would still receive that fantastic introductory work by Oswalt. Then we come to the commentary, and Oswalt breaks the book up into 3 sections: the Solomon narrative, the divided kingdom, and Judah alone. And each subsection is then broken up smaller based on the text itself. Each section in the commentary begins with a repetition of the outline from the introduction. Also, a brief 1-paragraph overview of this chapter or 2 that is covered in this section of the outline. Then Oswalt breaks down each section into smaller portions that are typically about a paragraph in length, but we need to understand that those paragraphs can vary a lot based on the contents in Kings itself. And then each of those sections, those 1-paragraph blocks of text, begins with Oswalt's own translation of the text. Then he provides his textual notes. The most common of those notes are comparing the Masoretic text to the Septuagint, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and also bringing up other sort of odd at times textual issues. Then there is the commentary on the text itself. Now, following the translation and then the commentary, Oswalt will provide a biblical theology comment. This is where he sort of zooms out somewhat from the details of the text to relate it to larger issues of theology. Now, I think if you were to take those sections and bring them apart into one book, you would find a nice commentary that doubles as a biblical theology of 1st and 2nd Kings. Then you have the application and devotional implications. In this section, Oswalt ties the passage that he just covered to our present day lives and pulls out important insights on living out the text. Overall, I believe Oswalt excelled on all points. In fact, when I finished reading this, I went online to find more commentaries by Oswalt, and I was sad that he didn't write more commentaries on more books of the Old Testament. But his work on Isaiah and 2nd Kings, those are solid gold. Maybe we need more men who are superb on just a couple of the books of the Bible and write extensively on those instead of men who try to write commentaries on all the New Testament or all the Old Testament. I really appreciated what he wrote on the purpose of Kings being to demonstrate Israel's destiny being tied to and only understood in connection to the Mosaic covenant and the Davidic covenant, with a greater emphasis on the first. He really helps the reader to appreciate the skill of the narrator or the compiler in Kings, weaving together this narrative from multiple sources and took what I would call a strong conservative view of the narrative being written at a very early time, close to when the events actually occurred, and then they were brought together by a later editor, and this was all led by the Holy Spirit. Here was my favorite line in the introduction. In Israel, the future is not determined. This is so because Yahweh is a person, not a force, and he deals with us as persons, with all the dynamics that personal relationship involves. The future is dependent on human responses to divine initiatives. And it's funny how in the introduction to a commentary on Kings, I found one of the best reads I've ever gone over on the providence of God and how God interacts with man. And then the commentary covering the individual passages, just as good. I felt like Oswalt has this very balanced view of the figures you come across in Kings. I think it's really easy to fall into a trap, to paint over successes or failures of individuals based on how we view that king or that prophet in the grand scheme. And I thought Oswalt did a great job about being honest about those unexpected moments of failure or success in the lives of these individuals. And I think that's really important in interpreting Kings. I also really liked what he had to say about Solomon's building programs and his wealth, especially when the temple was built. And Oswalt keyed in on how, for God, the temple was not nearly as important as it was for Solomon and Israel. For God, the key remained exclusive obedience and devotion to him. So for the Lord, it doesn't matter how nice the buildings are that we may construct. For him, the key is, will we worship the Lord alone and follow his word? God would rather be worshiped in a tent as our only God than share the stage with the gods of this world in the grandest cathedral ever constructed. Even in our church buildings, we must remember God always looks at the heart of the worshiper. And this is one of just many wonderful insights seen throughout this commentary. I really think this commentary, 1st and 2nd Kings, is a treasure. I believe this will be a crucial resource for pastors and teachers in the future, and anyone who wants to have a solid grasp of the book of Kings and apply it with greater clarity to their lives. I don't think you're going to find a better resource than this work by John Oswalt, produced by Lexham Academic.